Open court, please.
Oyez, oyez. Silence is commanded for the justices of the Supreme Court of Kentucky while they are sitting. All those having pleas to make or causes to prosecute, draw nigh, you shall be heard. This court is now in session. God save the Commonwealth and God save this honorable court.
Thank you. You may be seated. So I want to welcome everyone on this very important day in the life of the Kentucky Court of Justice. I do want to introduce a number of our guests. We have our Attorney General, Russell Coleman, from the Court of Appeals. We have Judges, Deputy Chief Judge Pam Goodwine, Jacqueline Caldwell, Audra Jean Eckerly. We have Senate Minority Floor Leader Gerald Neal, who, like us, is a visitor here today. Representative Rachel Roberts, the Minority Whip. We have two of our former past clerks, Susan Soakley-Clary and Kelly Stevens, who are here today. We have our KBA President, Fletcher Schrock. We have our President-elect, Rhonda Blackburn. We have our immediate past President, Amy Cubbage. We have one of our bar governors, Tanner Watkins. We have two of the real stars today, who are Philetta Brown, Director General Counsel of the Office of Bar Admissions, Wes Deskins, Deputy General Counsel of the Office of Bar Admissions, Dustin Meek, who is the chair of our Board of Bar Examiners, who without those three, none of us would be here today, so we appreciate that. We have David Sloan, Chair of the Character and Fitness, also an important person here today. We have our Director of the Administrative Office of Court, Katie Comstock, and we have John Myers, our Executive Director of the KBA. So let's give an applause to those folks. In 1957, the president of the American Bar Association, Charles Ryan, envisioned a national day to celebrate our legal system. The following year, President Dwight D. Eisenhower made that vision a reality by proclaiming Law Day as a day of national dedication to our great heritage of liberty, justice, and equality under the law. Law Day in America was in sharp contrast to the May Day celebrations of military might displayed in the Soviet Union. Now, more than half a century later, the United States of America and our legal system are strong and vibrant, although some may point to a little fraying along the edges. Each year, Law Day provides a new opportunity to expand awareness of our legal system and our judicial system and its impact on all our lives. It offers a chance to reflect upon our nation's constitutional heritage and to appreciate the vital contributions an informed and active citizenry make to our constitutional government. The theme for Law Day 2024 is Voices of Democracy. This year's theme encourages citizens to participate in the 2024 election by deepening their understanding of the electoral process, discussing issues in honest and civil ways, and turning out to vote. Importantly, the theme reminds us that in constitutional republics, the people rule. On the last day of the Constitutional Convention, September 18th, 1787, Benjamin Franklin was asked what type of government he had given us. He replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." For nearly 250 years, Americans have maintained our system of government by expressing their political views with civility, respecting the rule of law, and voting in elections. But the continued success of our republic is not guaranteed. It relies on our citizens to understand and respect the institution of government and commit themselves invariably to these principles. As lawyers, we serve an important role in maintaining a country governed by laws. We are entrusted by the public to uphold and promote the Constitution and the rule of law. We have a responsibility to educate the public on our system of government and the importance of citizen participation, the fundamental foundation of our society. The 2024 Law Day theme is an opportunity to reflect on an important fact. Our republic is fragile and dependent on our citizens to keep it intact. I encourage all of you as new lawyers to take seriously your duty to uphold and promote the Constitution and the rule of law in order to protect our system of government for future generations. So I would like to introduce my colleagues at this point. We have Deputy Chief Deborah Hembry Lambert from Pulaski County. We have Justice Shay Nickel from McCracken County. Justice Kelly Thompson of Warren County is unable to be here with us today. Justice Angela McCormick Bissick of Jefferson County. Michelle M. Keller of Kenton County. And Justice Robert B. Conley of Greenup County. And our president of the Kentucky Bar Association is Fletcher Schrock. Where's Fletcher? Right there. Okay. So we have a Law Day speaker today, and it is my pleasure to introduce Attorney General of the Commonwealth, Russell Coleman, as our speaker. On November 7th, 2023, Russell Coleman was elected as the 52nd Attorney General of Kentucky, winning in 117 of 120 counties. Prior to that, Mr. Coleman spent most of the past 2 decades in public service focused on protecting families from violent crime, national security threats, and the effects of the drug epidemic. In 2017, he was nominated by President Trump and unanimously confirmed by the Senate of the United States as the United States Attorney for the Western District of Kentucky. In that capacity, he was the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Office for Kentucky's 53 westernmost counties, ranging from its most populous to some of its most rural. Mr. Coleman previously served as a partner in the law firm of Frost Brown Todd in Louisville, as a prosecutor in the Oldham Circuit Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and as legal counsel to U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell. A former FBI special agent, he was assigned to multiple domestic field offices and served as a temporary assignment in Anbar Providence, Iraq, in support of the global war on terror. Mr. Coleman was raised in Graves County, Davis, and Logan counties, graduated from Logan County High School. He received both his undergraduate and law degrees from the University of Kentucky. Russell lives in Oldham County with his wife Ashley and their 3 children. The Colemans are members of the Southeast Christian Church, and he serves on the Kentucky State Police Foundation Board. Please welcome Attorney General Russell Coleman.
Good morning. May it please the court. I'd like everyone to just pause for a moment and take in the space where we are. Just look at this incredible space where we'll be celebrating you. Along with your family and loved ones, it's a privilege to be with you today in this particular room, celebrating this particular occasion. In a moment, after my brief remarks, you'll raise your right hand and take the oath of office, very similar to the oath I took just a few months ago. The role you're about to step into comes with high ethical requirements, distinction, responsibilities, heavy responsibilities. But it also comes with an endless supply of dad-like lawyer jokes. So I'm sure everyone has an uncle, has that family member that you're prepared to hear the jokes at dinner at Sunday. So, hey, welcome to the profession, my friends. I'm grateful to the Chief Justice, to the court, to the Kentucky Bar Association for allowing me to stand here, to be with you. As I thought about today's theme, Voices of Democracy, I consider the role that we play, that you will soon play as lawyers and as citizens, the role you play in our constitutional system, in this republic, in our Commonwealth. In one of his most famous speeches, President Theodore Roosevelt said, and I want to read this to get this right and pause on this for a moment. He calls on us to do our best to see that the standard of the average citizen, those people we'll serve, to make sure that standard is kept high. The average cannot be kept high unless the standard of its leaders, the standard of us, is high. Now, TR was a law school dropout, admittedly, but we can't disregard him all too quickly. As attorneys, each of you are facing boundless opportunities. But to whom much is given, you've heard this many times, but it's especially relevant today. To whom much is given, much is to be expected. And my friends, we have been given an abundance. With all we've received, we can't stay on the sidelines. We aren't supposed to wall ourselves off in our beautiful law firm offices in tall buildings with big windows. We are meant, you are meant to be in the arena as well. Now, you're a lot closer to the trial advocacy classes than I am. Well, much closer. So I'll assume you all remember that core threshold lesson of focusing anytime we speak, not only primacy and recency, but ensuring that we have a theme in our opening statements and our closing arguments, focusing on that theme. So there's not a pop quiz, but I'm going to be crystal clear on what my theme is today. I'm going to ask you to pause again. I'm going to ask you to stand up. Please stand up where you're seated. I'm going to ask you to turn around and look at the gallery. Now, it's malpractice as a speaker to have you look away from me and the podium, so I'll go ahead and admit that. But I want you to look at the gallery. I want you to look at your dads, your moms, your uncles, your aunts, your spouses, partners, your mentor, that played such a significant role in allowing you to be here today. Now, today is about you, but it's as much about the people that we're staring at in the gallery, as much about them and their contribution to getting you here. Now, please be seated. Thank you for doing that. Thank you. It's about them. Their sacrifice, it's many sacrifices in some cases, allowed you to walk through that door and allowed you to take that oath here in a moment. Now, secondly, I want you to look, in addition to looking backwards at those that help you arrive here, I want you to look forwards. I want you to be crystal clear in my primary role in standing here, and that's to recruit you. That's to recruit you to public service. For our Commonwealth, for our families, for future generations. I want you to consider this your official invitation to serve from the Attorney General of our Commonwealth. Now, public service comes in many forms. It can come in those whose chairs you sit in this chamber, or the other end of our Capitol in the Senate, in elected office. But every day, my friends, I work with prosecutors, with litigators, with advocates in the Attorney General's office that demonstrate the finest in public service. We're dedicated to the most important tasks of government: ensuring public safety, supporting those that fight for public safety, and defending the Constitution of our Commonwealth and the United States. I get to serve with some of the finest lawyers in this Commonwealth. I'm joined by some of them in the room. When I talk about public service, it can look like that of the Deputy Attorney General, Rob Duncan, previous United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Kentucky and career prosecutor from his first days out of law school. Or, in those of you that are going to a firm, I want to plant the seeds of public service. It can look like our Solicitor General, Matt Kuhn, who started his service after serving as a law clerk in a couple law firms, one in Washington, D.C., and one here in our Commonwealth. He argues cases, appellate cases, before the highest court of our Commonwealth, up to the highest court of the United States, the quill that sits on his desk, advocating for this Commonwealth. Those are two examples. I'm joined by detectives from our Department of Criminal Investigations that demonstrate some of the finest in law enforcement, from retired Secret Service agents to retired Louisville Metropolitan Police detectives. Public service can look like that of a public defender in law enforcement, in public policy, in elected office. It can look like one of our 107 county and Commonwealth's attorneys that we in the Attorney General's office are a backroom function in supporting. Those truly are the most important prosecutors to you, your county and Commonwealth's attorneys. You know, attorneys fill these ranks across our Commonwealth because they answered the call to serve their fellow Kentuckians. It's not just podium talk. It's answering the call. It's showing up. After all, look, there's a reason that we're in this building for you to take your oath. In this state capitol. This building is the seat of government. It's the heart of our public life. The decisions made in this building, in this room, in the upper chamber across the third floor, they have a ripple effect across our Commonwealth. They affect folks in every, truly families and folks on the street, average Kentuckians in all 120 counties. Whether you live in the Purchase or the mountains, it matters what happens here in this building. And it comes down, to the voice of democracy, but we have to have people who hear those voices and who act on them. As you pass, in a moment, as you pass the bar and into our profession, you're going to join the ranks of some of Kentuckians' most consequential sons and daughters. These men and women, whether born in privilege as blue bloods or born into poverty, use the practice of law to serve their neighbors in our Commonwealth. Now, their portraits adorn this building. Their statues are in the rotunda. Two lawyers, both Henry Clay and Alvin Barkley, are honored in our rotunda. There's always room for another one. There's always room for another portrait, for another statue. Kentucky needs talented and dedicated attorneys getting in the arena. Look, folks who care deeply about the rule of law, but also understand that the rule of law is not self-effectuating. And I want to pause on that point for a moment. Whether that term jumped out at you from admin law or, like some of us, you learned it in Barbary, self-effectuating. It takes women and men who are willing to step into that arena, not only to make the laws, but to enforce the laws. They do not make themselves. They are not self-effectuating. That's what we're calling on you to do. It requires driven citizens of character to defend the rule of law. In our adversarial system, it requires attorneys like you with fire in the belly to zealously advocate for your clients, zealously advocate for the rule of law. Men and women like those dedicated enough to put themselves through 3 grueling years of tough law practice to followed up by a nightmare exam, just to, in a few moments, take an oath about dueling. I'm talking about you. You are the men and women we need. It's clear you've demonstrated you have what it takes. So look, I hope it's not the last time you come to this building, a formal event like this. I hope it's not the last time you consider how you use your talents, your skills, the education that you have to amplify those voices of Kentuckians. And even if you're not headed into public service now, again, I hope there's a seed planted. I hope you remember there's always time to contribute to the Commonwealth in your communities. Find your own path of service beyond the recommended pro bono hours of KBA. Find that path. It is unique to each of you because we need you. We need you more than ever. As dangerous drugs pour into this Commonwealth, I'm looking around this room and I can assure you there's no one in this room that hasn't been touched in some way by the drug epidemic. As we see an increase in violent crime, not only in Jefferson or Fayette County, but in your counties as well, there's a lot of darkness out there. We need you to look into that darkness and help us push back. I have a tremendous amount of hope despite the degree of this darkness because I see on a regular basis others take this oath who are willing to step into law enforcement, who are willing to put the uniform and badge on of their Commonwealth. I see some of our finest who are willing to take a very similar oath to what you're taking today. As you raise your hand today, please consider being that light that we need to push back on the darkness. Congratulations to each of you. Congratulations to your families. Congratulations to your admission to the bar. And welcome to the practice of law and the service to our Commonwealth.
The Liberty Bell Award was established more than 40 years ago to acknowledge outstanding community service. The award is given to someone who promotes a better understanding of our government, contributes to the effective functioning of our institutions of government, stimulates a deeper sense of individual responsibility, and encourage greater respect and appreciation for the rule of law. So this year's recipient is Attorney General Russell Coleman. So we've now reached the point in our program that these folks right here in the middle have been waiting for, so I'm happy to introduce the president of the Kentucky Bar Association, Fletcher Schrock, for a motion.
May it please the court, justices of the Kentucky Supreme Court and honored guests. I'm Fletcher Schrock, and I'm serving as president of the Kentucky Bar Association. It is my duty and honor to move the court that the individuals who appear before you here today be admitted to the office of attorney and counselor at law and be allowed to appear as such before all courts in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. In support of this motion, I represent that all individuals have successfully completed their academic training. They have been found to be of good moral character by the Character and Fitness Committee, and they have successfully completed examination by the Kentucky Board of Bar Examiners. These individuals are well qualified to assume their office as attorney at law and become members of the Kentucky Bar Association and officers of the Supreme Court of Kentucky.
Mr. Schrock, one very important point. Have they paid their fees?
I'm sure they have, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. All right, so here in 1 second, I'm going to ask you all to stand up, but before I do, I want to make a comment about the oath. General Coleman has already mentioned this. There's a point in the oath where we get to the part about dueling. And as I've already observed this morning, there is sort of an undercurrent of kind of a snicker, kind of a laugh, kind of a smile about the dueling. And some people think this is anachronistic. It's from a bygone era. But it just so happens the other day in my mail comes a magazine from the Kentucky Humanities, Spring 2024. And the lead article is 1887 Lexington shooting details 19th century Kentucky violence. And the article has to do with a man named Thomas Marshall Green, who had been a lawyer but had lost his law license because he had engaged in duels before the Civil War. The dueling oath, the dueling prohibition comes from the 1850 Constitution, so he violated it in 1857. During the Civil War, he served as a second and also violated the dueling oath. And if that wasn't enough, he killed a man named Lewis Baldwin in 1887. So what I would ask everyone to think about, instead of a smile, instead of a laugh, that when I get to the part about the dueling, I would ask you to reflect on the fact that we resolve our differences through courts of law and not on the field of honor. So it is actually a very important part of our oath, and I would ask that you treat it as such. So with that, stand up, raise your right hand. Do each of you swear or affirm that you'll support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as you continue a citizen thereof, that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of attorney at law according to law? And do you further solemnly swear or affirm, since the adoption of the present Constitution, you being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, nor have you sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor aided or assisted any person or acted as a second in carrying a challenge, so help you God? Congratulations. Okay. So with that, Mr. Schrock is going to read off the names and we'll take hands and picture, and then on to the reception.
Sean Edward Bolton. Jacqueline Ray Burgess. Gabriel Devon Castro. Christian Hunter Collette. John David Cook. John Marshall Gavin. Mackenzie Lynn Gentili. Wesley James Hamilton. Tamir Hazem Helmi. Rihanna Lee Hicks. Brady Malin Jetty. Camry Kelsey. Georgiana Keeley Ledford. Jessica Morgan Lowe. Jack Justice McKeskey. Mariana Lynn Markley. Lucy Key Mills. Austin Keith Mitchell. Kerrigan Hope Osborne. Eric Lloyd Poor. Jacob Crispin Proctor. Abigail Claire Rundell. Emma Nicole Russell. Dustin Wade Sams. Selena Jansen Saylor. Isaac Gates Settle. Leora Pearl Schiffman. Christopher Logan Smoot. Zachary Robert Stacy. Blair Johnson Stevens. Caitlin Marie Stewart. Daniel Ryan Turner. Matthew Gregory Wells. Philip Lee Wiesman. Ryan Brady Wiggins. Samantha Michelle Woodward. Austin Tanner Wright.
Okay, in closing, I again would like to recognize our speaker, Attorney General Russell Coleman. I also remind, yes, sit down, sit down. I also remind you of your obligation to make our system of justice available to all citizens by contributing a portion of your knowledge and skills pro bono and participating in community and civic causes. I congratulate you and your families and wish you well in the future. A reception in your honor is being hosted by the Kentucky Bar Association Young Lawyers Division on the second floor of the Capitol, and I encourage you and your guests to attend. And I forgot to introduce Elizabeth Combs, who is our president of the Young Lawyers, and she will be very upset at me if I do not encourage all of you to join the Young Lawyers Division of the Kentucky Bar Association. So, all right, adjourn court, please.
All rise. This court shall stand adjourned, subject to the call of the Chief Justice. Thank you. That concludes our ceremony. Please join us for the reception downstairs. Our justices will be available for photographs down there, and they look forward to meeting you and speaking with you. Congratulations.